Our next awardee, our next honoree, is Orhan Pamuk. I have a confession to make. I know Orhan Pamuk's older brother, Şevket, who appears in various of Orhan's writings. In his book on Istanbul, we learn of relentless and epic struggles in which Orhan is overmatched, but always irresistibly drawn to another futile attempt to outwit or overpower Şevket. Sitting where I sit, all I see is two extraordinary intellectual talents, surviving a sibling rivalry that probably made them both better human beings, and bringing to the world of academia and of creative writing an abundance of talent for which we all must be grateful. For one so young, Orhan Pamuk has already compiled an extraordinary opus with 5 internationally acclaimed novels, his riveting portrait of Istanbul, a collection of essays, and in recognition of this achievement, the Nobel Prize for Literature. He is at work on his next novel, The Museum of Innocence. All great cities have their bards, sometimes one in each generation, and Orhan Pamuk is Istanbul's current interpreter and prose painter. One could no more take Orhan Pamuk out of Istanbul than Woody Allen out of New York, Naguib Mahfouz out of Cairo, or Fairuz out of Beirut. In his own mind, he sees himself doing to or for Istanbul what James Joyce did to or for Dublin. Because Dublin, like Istanbul, was on the margin of Europe, looking at it, yearning for it, but not yet legitimately part of it. Pamuk contrasts himself with an earlier generation of writers whose mission and message are simpler than his. These were, in his own words, authors who felt a social responsibility, authors who felt that literature serves morality and politics. They were flat realists, not experimental. Like authors in so many poor countries, they wasted their talent on trying to serve their nation. I did not want to be like them because even in my youth I had enjoyed Faulkner, Virginia Woolf, Proust. I had never aspired to the social realist model of Steinbeck and Gorky. The literature produced in the 60s and 70s was becoming outmoded, so I was welcomed as an author of the new generation, end of quote. Orhan Pamuk takes us into complex psychodramas of confused identities refracted within and across characters and across different eras. His sibling rivalry becomes the implicit metaphor for Turkey's and the Ottoman Empire's complex symbiosis with Europe. Again, to quote Orhan, this theme of impersonation is reflected in the fragility Turkey feels when faced with Western culture. After writing The White Castle, I realized that this jealousy, the anxiety about being influenced by someone else, resembles Turkey's position when it looks west. You know, aspiring to become westernized and then being accused of not being authentic enough, trying to grab the spirit of Europe and then feeling guilty about the imitative drive. The ups and downs of this mood are reminiscent of the relationship between competitive brothers, end of quote. Finally, and again I can do no better than to cite Orhan Pamuk's own words, he draws his inspiration from living between mindsets or perhaps inhabiting them both simultaneously. Quote, what literature needs most to tell and investigate today are humanity's basic fears, the fear of being left outside and the fear of counting for nothing, and the feelings of worthlessness that come with such fears, the collective humiliations, vulnerabilities, slights, grievances, sensitivities, and imagined insults, and the nationalist boasts and inflations that are their next of kin. Whenever I am confronted by such sentiments and by the irrational, overstated language in which they are usually expressed, I know they touch on a darkness inside me. We have often witnessed peoples, societies, and nations outside the Western world, and I can identify with them easily, succumbing to fears that sometimes lead them to commit stupidities, all because of their fears of humiliation and their sensitivities. I also know that in the West, a world with which I can identify with the same ease, nations and peoples taking an excessive pride in their wealth and in their having brought us the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, and modernism, have from time to time succumb to a self-satisfaction that is almost as stupid. End of quote. With that, I would like to welcome Orhan Pamuk to the podium.
It's a great honor to be here. It's such a great distinction. Thank you very much. As you see, I don't have a prepared lecture. I'll be just casual and brief. We write, they say, for two basic essential reasons. One, the first one, as we all know, is the problems of the heart. We write about our very personal problems, knowing that they are the problems of humanity. Problems of the heart make us write about our problems, but we know that we are also addressing other people's problems. When we mention, talk, elaborate on our personal problems, we are definitely sure, because we are writing fiction, because we are embedded in literature, we definitely know that we are also addressing others' problems. In the same way, we know that since we know that literature is about the problems of the heart, we also know that when we write about others, people who are not like us, we are also sure that since that the human heart is same everywhere, we are also talking about ourselves. The magic of literature comes from this duality. When we talk about ourselves, we know that we are talking about other people. When we are talking about other people, we know that we are also talking about ourselves. Problems of the heart is one aspect of this business of literature. The other aspect, the other thing that drives us is that the problems of our home. By home, I mean our mommy's home, our street, what they call fatherland. It may be language. It may be anything that we feel sheltered and peaceful with. That here, and we write about, also we are driven to write about our problems of home, because now we think, as we write about our homes, it's so different. What makes home home? Not only it gives us shelter and peace and security, but it's also different from other homes, and we felt driven to register that. We say, oh, Istanbul is so different from others, so let me write about it. Not only so, the energy for writing fiction, for being involved in literature, not only comes from our personal problems of the heart, but also this great feeling of belonging, even if we feel that we don't belong here, that there is a home, real or imaginary, and we want to address humanity, saying that our home is different. Here in Beirut, I feel so much at home that it feels that one of the reasons that I feel so honored by this great distinction is that here Beirut seems like Istanbul to me. So that's why perhaps this great distinction, this honor I received today feels so sweet. Thank you very much. It has been a great pleasure being here. Thank you very much.